slogan is opening doors to a higher education. So the name might not make sense as of right now, but I promise it will later on. That being said, I would like to go over some key terms that will be used throughout the assembly and a little bit of background information regarding these terms that some of you may or may not be familiar with. Okay, so first off, we have the term DACA. This is an acronym for the phrase Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals. This was a program issued under the Obama administration in 2012 to support undocumented individuals by granting them a renewable 2-year period of deferred action from deportation and also granting them eligibility for a work permit. Next, we have the term undocumented or undocumented immigrant, which refers to anyone residing in any given country without legal documentation. So this includes people who enter the US without inspection and proper permission from the government, and those who entered with a legal visa that is no longer valid. So next we have the term mixed status, or as some of you may have heard it used as like referring to a mixed status family. This is being a part of a mixed status family can look differently for all immigrant families. So for example, you can have a family with both parents being undocumented while having all US citizen children, or you can have a family with one like documented parent and one undocumented parent with US citizen children, or you can have like a family with undocumented parents and some children that are undocumented, DACA, or mixed status, or citizens. Okay, so now that we have those terms, we are going to show a video, but let me just unshare so I can show the video. Hi, you all. Well, we're having some technical difficulties, but we're trying to figure it out. So. Well, we couldn't really figure out how to share the video without, because we're having technical difficulties, but we can move on for right now, and hopefully we can come back to the video. So, just to give a bit of context, this video was about an undocumented student. Her name is Vivi Vasquez, and she was just giving us her experience and story in regards to obtaining a higher education in the state of Arizona while being undocumented. So she mentions wanting to go to obtain a higher education, but her status was what was holding her back. So even though she put in all of the effort and was a great student, she even received a lot of awards and acceptances from universities, but she was not able to afford the cost of tuition. Okay, so a little bit of background information in regards to Vivi's story and why she couldn't obtain affordable tuition. So on November 7, 2006, there was a proposition that was initiated, which is called Prop 300, and that banned undocumented students from in-state tuition and publicly funded scholarships. So you may ask, what about in-state tuition for DACA students? So as you all may know, on June 12, 2012, the DACA program was announced, and this was 6 years after Prop 300. So after DACA was implemented, the MCCCD board granted in-state tuition for DACA recipients. And Arizona universities did follow by granting in-state tuition, but this wasn't until 2015. But on September 5th, 2017, DACA was rescinded, which meant that the program was no longer accepting new applications or was going forth. And after an ongoing legal battle on April 2018, a year later, the Arizona Supreme Court ultimately ruled that DACA recipients could not have access to in-state tuition. So therefore, undocumented students and DACA recipients were not being able to obtain in-state tuition at an in-state level. Just to put that in perspective, I have this table here, and the tuition at a state university, so in Arizona, versus citizen, it would cost $10,000, about $10,000. And for a DACA or undocumented, oh, I'm not sharing anything. Okay, well, let me share really quick. Okay, so this is a little table I was talking to you all about. For a DACA or undocumented student, it is about $16,000, so it is like a $6,000 difference. And college or attending a university can be very costly, and this was way much more costly for those who are DACA or undocumented. And for a cost of tuition per credit hour at MCCD, for a citizen, it would be $85, but for a DACA or undocumented student, it would be $326. So we can really see like a difference there. And so citizens have access to public scholarships, whereas DACA or undocumented students don't. Citizens also have access to financial aid, which is like FAFSA and things like that. But DACA or undocumented students cannot apply for FAFSA and any financial aid. So citizens can also apply for student loans, but DACA and undocumented students can't. And citizens can apply for private scholarships, and DACA and undocumented students can apply for private scholarships as well, which is why a majority of them tend to lean towards more private institutions. So a little bit of facts. In the US, there are currently about 640,000 DACA recipients as of March 2020, and 245,000 of these DACA recipients have a college degree. And the student population in Arizona is about 103,000 Dreamers who are immigrants who migrated to the US as minors. 52,000 of them are DACA eligible, but 28,000 of them are DACA beneficiaries, which are the people who benefit from DACA and who are currently in the program. Whereas 7,000 are Dreamers, well, 7,000 and more Dreamers who were too young to apply when DACA was rescinded. So now that we have covered a little bit of background information, we are going to have a panel between two panelists. One is Juan Carlos Cisneros Suarez, who is an undocumented student at Benedictine University, and Andrea Luna, who is a mixed status student at Westwood High School. So, Andrea and Juan, please turn your cameras on, and yeah. Okay. So, Juan, could you give us a quick story of self of who you are and what you are majoring in Benedictine?
Yeah, hi, my name is Juan Cisneros. I am a student at Benedict University studying computer science. I'm actually originally from Nogales, Sonora, so like right across the border, before I immigrated here. I actually came here when I turned 7 on my 7th birthday, and we've been here for 13 years, and it's been an interesting process, to say the least.
Okay, thank you, Juan. And now, Andrea, can you introduce yourself, please?
Hi everyone. My name is Andrea Luna. I'm a senior here at Westwood High School. I'm a part of the IB program and I'm a member of a variety of clubs, including Latinx Club, which is the club hosting this assembly. I'm a part of a mixed status family, meaning that I have family members with different immigration statuses. Thankfully, I am a citizen, so the only impact that I have had because of my status is through experiences I've had with my family. I'm going to study elementary education as a first generation student at ASU.
Thank you so much, Andrea. So now we are going to go on with the questions for both of you. So Juan, if you could answer, why is education important to you?
Education is really important to me, mainly because in the area I was born in, with my family and everything, education wasn't really the most accessible. Even my mom and dad, they were only able to get into a bit of like what would be high school, so they didn't even get to get that higher education experience. So really coming here and getting the experience to go and study what I want to study and become what I want to do, is really, really important, because I know my parents weren't really able to do that. So I think that's just why I value education to the most.
Thank you, Juan. Now, Andrea, would you like to share why education is important to you?
Yeah, so similarly to Juan, my parents didn't have access to a higher education in Mexico, so they immigrated to offer me and my siblings a better future in that sense. And they always raised me with the idea that education is really important and it should be my top priority. And it's going into like a university, it's something that I'm doing to make my parents proud, but also something that I'm doing to make myself proud because I know that it's something that not everyone is able to achieve. And since I have the access to the resources to do all of this, I'm taking that opportunity.
Thank you, Andrea. So now, Juan, would you like to share what are some obstacles that you have faced because of your status, in regards to obtaining a higher education or just anything personal if you're comfortable?
Yeah, I mean, there comes a lot of drawbacks given my status. Um, one is constant sense of fear. Especially when we first got here, it was around um 2008. So SB 1070 property well, property 100 didn't impact that much, but SB 1070 and Sheriff Arpaio was really in full effect and being really rampant. So it really impacted me and my family a lot, mainly because we were really afraid to just leave the house. We were afraid of what if we got pulled over? What if we saw a police officer and like they deported us? It was very difficult to try to leave the house during that time. And I mean, even a few years back now, when President Trump was in office, when they were doing a lot of the roundups, my mom was also very afraid of leaving the house. Still, then she was afraid that they would like ICE would come and deport us or something like that. And she would hear, she would always be like looking outside. So it's really having a constant state of fear. Um, Whereas for education, at least myself, I had a very difficult time because of my status, but also because I'm a first-time student. So I don't really understand the process of what it took to apply to college and scholarships and stuff like that. And then even the advisors at my school didn't really understand how to help me because of my status. Haven't, they didn't have the experience of helping a non-documented student get to college and have it fully paid. So they found it really difficult. Luckily, we were able to find something last minute, but it's very difficult to try to get access to the higher education you would want.
Yeah, I can imagine how hard it must have been with having all these obstacles put in your path. Andrea, would you like to share about some obstacles that you have faced because of your status?
Yeah, so when I was young and my parents explained to me what our status was and what everything meant, there was a lot of anxiety. So from a young age, there was a lot of anxiety. I was scared of suddenly not seeing my parents when I came back from school, that sort of situation. So it was very scary. It still is, but it's something that you like sort of learn to live with. But education wise, I'm a first generation student and the eldest in my sibling amongst my siblings. So my parents weren't able to help me out too much throughout my college application process compared to other classmates that have parents or older siblings that have gone to college. And also being a first generation Latina student, my Mexican parents weren't as accepting of me moving to an out of state school, which felt limiting when I was deciding where I wanted to attend for college, given that there are only so many schools nearby.
Thank you. Yeah, I think having the cultural aspects, but also these other different obstacles can really affect how you perceive and try to achieve getting a higher education. So now, Juan, would you do me the favor of answering the question, to what extent have you been limited in your search for a higher education?
Um, yeah, for me, I think my status impacted me more than most would have. Um, my status really hit me hard when I was thinking about application, so it made it very difficult when trying to write out my story or when it came to showing GPA because my my classwork just really failed because I thought that I really had no options on what to do after high school. I thought I would really just have to go into the workforce and just accept it for what it is. So I didn't really try during high school, which came back and bit me later on. Um, but my status also limited me a lot, mainly because of the scholarships I was able to apply to. Um, so the way I like to think of it is that if there's 100 scholarships out there, right? Um, Citizens would be able to access most of them. Documented students would be able to access maybe four of them, and then documented, not documented, undocumented students, which is what I am, would really only be able to access one. Reason being is because status plays into effect, and also the region you're in, and also the major you're studying. So all of those things stack up, and it greatly limits what kind of scholarship you can really apply to, and also how much you can get overall. I got into a couple private universities, but of the overall total I would have to pay actually was much more than what I'm currently having to pay. So I instead opted out of those and went to the cheaper option and just found a way to manage through that.
Yeah, thank you for sharing with us. Andrea, would you like to answer the question as well?
Thankfully, I haven't been limited in my search for higher education. I've only had what I would call inconveniences. So, for example, going through application processes was longer than it took other students. So, for example, filing and getting a response from FAFSA took my family about a month instead of a day or like days or a few weeks. There's a separate process that has to be taken in which a parent has to sign a paper and mail it to FAFSA instead of not being able to sign electronically like most parents. The first time we mailed a signature, I was not aware that I had not fully submitted the application. So it took a few weeks before FAFSA contacted me saying that I had submitted the FAFSA and I had to send the signature again. So I finally got my financial aid summary a few weeks later, which was a relief, but it definitely felt more complicated to do than it did for other classmates.
Thank you, Andrea. So hearing about your guys' obstacles, I just wanted to ask, like, how did you overcome those obstacles? Because I know, Juan, you are currently at Benedictine University and you're studying, whereas Andrea, you are going to the University of Arizona State University. So you are actually, you both are obtaining a higher education. So Juan, would you like to answer how you overcame some of those obstacles?
Yeah, I think I really relied a lot on my community. I leaned on them a lot, especially with like friends and family, but also the other communities that I had built before. I got a lot of help with robotics. They helped me out really a lot when it came to applications. Same thing with Aliento. They offered me a lot of ways that I could find a way to pay for my tuition, and they've still been helping me out. So I think I just leaned on every single wall that was around me and just forced my way through. And here I am now, actually getting the education.
That's great to hear though, because you're actually trying to obtain you are actually obtaining a higher education, and thanks to like your community, like you said, you were able to. Andrea, would you like to share how you overcame some of those obstacles with us?
So I made sure to ask my counselors and friends that were in similar situations for help on how to complete college applications and file the FAFSA. I would recommend searching scholarships specific for your status. So there are scholarship funds that are only available to undocumented or DACA or mixed status students or for your ethnicity. And these are all extremely helpful because resources and scholarships for undocumented or DACA or mixed students or mixed status students are sometimes scarce and they're really helpful when paying for college since it's very pricey, especially for undocumented and DACA students. I decided to attend Arizona State University since it was a school I was already interested in. But communicating with your parents and letting them know how you feel during the college application process is key.
Well, thank you, Andrea, for sharing, and thank you both. Do any of you have any advice for our students currently listening in? Because I know COVID has really made it hard for a lot of us students, and we might need a little bit of advice or a little bit of encouragement. So, do you have any advice for our students? Juan, would you like to start?
Yeah, I would definitely say to put yourself out there and definitely not be afraid of failure because as long as you don't take those chances, you're not going to be able to get anywhere. But even if you go and take those chances and you fail, you'll learn something from it for the next time you try to apply to, say, a scholarship or a university. So just really put yourself out there and somehow you'll make it through because I know it sure helped me out. And if I didn't do that, I really wouldn't have been able to make it to where I am right now.
Thank you for that advice, Juan. And Andrea, do you have anything or any advice for our students?
Yeah, so there are a lot of resources out there for you to receive a higher education. Reach out to your counselors, they are really there to help you. There are a lot of scholarships available for people of different statuses. Like I said previously, if it weren't for scholarships, I probably wouldn't be able to attend university. So I would definitely recommend looking up scholarships and making a list of the ones that you are interested in. That's something that I did to track the scholarships that I would apply to.
Well, thank you, Andrea. That was some really good advice for our students. So now I wanted to ask, do you have any advice for our teachers or staff? Because I know we have some teachers out there that are listening to us, and it would be really, I think it'd be a good opportunity to also give them advice to how they can help out their students. Andrea, would you like to start?
Yeah, I would just say keep in mind that students are all having different experiences and to continue being supportive. I've had luck with my teachers. They've all been very kind and helpful throughout this process, so it's definitely made it easier.
Well, thank you, Andrea. Juan, would you like to give any advice to our teachers or staff?
I would definitely say just to be open and be able to help out because uh, like Andrea said, a lot of people are living through many different scenarios, so they're not always all going to be available at a certain time. So being open and letting students ask for advice and stuff like that at any time could really help them out because maybe they can't to reach out during class or right after class. Maybe they have something going on. So I think being open and being available is really, really important to being able to help a student through.
Thank you, Juan and Andrea. So if any of you have any questions that you like to ask the panelists, you could type them in the chat or you could ask your teacher to type them in for you. So we could wait a minute to see if any questions roll in. But is there anything else you'd like to say, Juan or Andrea, in regards to any questions or any thoughts you might have?
I would say that even though people see their current situation as very hard, it's very important not to give up because yeah, there's going to be ups and downs, but so long as you don't give up when you're going down, you'll easily make it back up. Um, and just try not to do everything on your own. It's okay to get help because you don't know everything. There's no way one person can know everything. So being able to actually take advice or seek help from those around you is really important in being able to work around issues whenever they come.
Oh, thank you for that point, Juan. I think, yeah, like you said, it's really important to actually try and reach out for help when you need it because things can be really rough sometimes. And sometimes you just need a little bit of community or someone there to help you along the way. And it's not something bad if you need something, like if you need some help, it's always a good thing because you can have like another perspective and have just someone there supporting you. So we did not get any questions, so I think we will be moving on. But thank you to Juan and Andrea for being our panelists. And yeah. Okay, so we had another video to show, but I think we're going to opt into showing them maybe at the end of the assembly. We have time since we couldn't really figure it out, but this one was about a DACA student and their journey through medical school and how he was going through some obstacles in his life and while trying to obtain higher education. But oh, so we actually have a question that just popped up. Um, okay. Well, we're gonna answer this question really quickly. This question is, what community organizations helped you the most? So Juan, if you could show yourself again and maybe answer the question, please.
I mean, to me, I wouldn't say one specific organization helped me the most. It was definitely a mix of the ones I was in. The one currently helping me the most is probably Aliento. They focus a lot on helping undocumented students get that higher education that they want. And they have a lot of different perspectives with all their leaders. So I think that one might be the one that impacted me the most and really helped me through a lot of things and still helping me through.
Thank you, Juan, for answering the question. Yes, so this person is also asking if we could put the names of the groups in the chat so students can write it down. We are actually going to share a resource page with you all at the end of the assembly, which has some scholarships in there and some organizations as well. So be on the lookout for that. I will try to send it to your teacher so they can send it to you all as well. And there is another question that says, what can the student body do to help? So Juan or Andrea, would you like to answer that question?
I think that's honestly a really difficult question, at least for me, mainly because I am not in a general position that I can see the perspective through somebody else's eyes. So I don't know in which ways one could help, but definitely I think just being a resource for those around you is very helpful. It goes a long way. Like being there to help your friends, maybe like double check their essays when they're doing something like that, or remind them um, that hey, X document is due this day for this university or something like that. I know that I did that a lot in my senior year with another friend of mine that was undocumented. We basically kept each other in check and made sure that we were applying for what we needed to apply, but that by the deadlines. That way, none of us fell behind. Um, so yeah, I think it's just very important on being the resource that can help prevent failure for those friends that will really need it.
Thank you, Juan, for answering the question. So we are going to try to show this little clip. Okay, so we're trying to play the video through a microphone, or like the sound through a microphone, so it might not be perfect, but we'll try our best.
Our parents and a lot of us so we were applying college. Many times, many people. I was watching this shit 2 in the morning.
Okay, well, that didn't go as planned.
I didn't know, and she was playing video. I didn't know that until, yeah.
Okay, so that did not go as planned, but we are going to continue. So hopefully I can maybe drop in the links at the end. So if you all want, you can go ahead and check the videos out. So as I said, we were planning on providing you all with a resource page. We are still trying to make it look pretty because we have all the resources. We just need to tighten it up. And then, but we do have an event that is coming up. And this is an MPS event that is in partnership between Aliento, which is a nonprofit. And Juan had mentioned the name Aliento, and they are just a nonprofit organization that focuses on providing resources for undocumented, documented, or mixed status family youth and immigrant youth. So this event is called Abriendo Puertas, and the little motto is opening doors to college for undocumented students, documented students, and students from immigrant families in Mesa Public Schools. So we did want to emphasize that it is all GPAs welcome, meaning you do not have to have a high enough GPA, or like you don't have to be a straight A student to be able to attend this event, since we are trying to reach out to everyone. So this will take place on Wednesday, April 14th, and it will be held over WebEx as well. And it will be from 2 to 3 p.m. and you can RSVP with the link right here. It's a bit.ly link, or you can scan this QR code that is being shared via the Google Slides. So if any of you are interested, you can RSVP, or you can always just have your teacher email me or Mrs. Thomas to ask more about this event. So we could not watch the video, but Vivi Vasquez was the keynote speaker for the first video that we were trying to share. And I chose a quote that she said because it really stood out to me and to the other people as well. And she says, "I hope to one day tell all my students that education knows no borders." So with that being said, I would like to end off with that quote, and thank you all for joining us. We could not show the videos, which would have taken a bit more time, and but we did get to share the rest of the information. So hopefully this this helps you all, or motivates you all to continue to finish strong in the school year. And if you'd like to follow us, this presentation was brought to you by the Westwood Latinx Club. So we included our Instagram on there just in case you'd like to follow, or just be informed about our next meetings. So yeah, I think that is all for today. Thank you all once again, and I hope you all have a great rest of your day. Thank you. I